Hey there, YouTube. Bruce here again with another just kind of yapping video today. Today I just kind of once again wanted to do a bit of yapping like I did yesterday, where I just kind of talked about things that I'm not kind of entirely happy with and things that I am not, I guess I just don't see the vision behind them yet. Again, maybe this is something that comes with time. This is also completely just my opinion. I don't know. I just personally, I don't know how these skills are like supposed to function or supposed to be in this game and feel good with the way that they are right now. And I'm kind of hoping that we get some kind of change or adjustment or something to these, or maybe somebody out there can just point out that that I'm blind and these are used in a very specific manner, in a very different way than what I'm thinking. But and you know, of course, Path of Exile 2, it's a different game from Path 1 in the sense that you have to think of some skills are purely support-based skills, right? Versus some skills in the game being like your actual damagers or like the skill that you're kind of really building around, and the rest of the skills just kind of support to elevate this one skill. Which is sort of the case with like this character and Snipe, right? Where most of these skills are just for clear and for building up and all that kind of stuff. But the main juice behind this character in particular is Snipe. And so all of the other skills just kind of build towards that. But there are some skills in the game that I can't see myself ever building around, and I can't ever see myself even using them by themselves. Like I feel like I would have to use some kind of way around using them, and that is for the most part, this is what kind of the main topic, the main thing I wanted to talk about as far as these skills go, is all of the skills that exist in the game right now that have a flat increased built-in plus seconds to either cast or attack time. Because personally, I really don't like them. There is one exception, and that is Spiral Volley, which is also the reason I'm on this character. It has a plus 0.4 second to total attack time. And I feel like you can barely notice that there is an additional attack time. You're kind of still moving while you're casting the skill. You're firing all of the arrows around you, so it's dealing its damage while it's still doing the attack time. And I think that ultimately kind of leads to it feeling better as a skill that also has a built flat plus seconds to attack time. It's also so low that you are probably never going to get to a point where, well, I mean, you reasonably could. I guess I won't say never, but it's going to be a lot harder to get to a point where the only attack time that you have is 0.4 seconds. And even if you do, it will still feel really quick. You'll do a quick turnaround. You'll do that quick little spin right there. You'll still have dealt damage the entire time, and it will be fine. So this is, I think, the only skill that I can think of that has flat added seconds to the time where it actually feels fine. The rest of these, most of them are mace, some of them are elemental. So the ones that I can think of are the big spells, like Comet here. Plus 1 second to total cast time, and also Lightning Conduit, plus 1 second to total cast time. I could not think of a single person that is using these skills in just the way of, I am manually casting this skill. Because usually if you spend the extra 1 second time, plus how long it actually takes your character to cast the spell, odds are you're already dead. Or you're just getting hit so much that it winds up not being like super worth it, and it's just, and instead you'd rather be using any spell that's a lot faster, you know, like Eye of Winter or whatever if you're doing cold stuff, and then instead just having this attached to a cast on freeze. You know, there's a bunch of people who I've been seeing as well that are doing, you know, some really insane, you know, cast on whatever comet, and they're spawning like 64 comets or whatever I think I saw, or something. So there's something that's nuts that's going on with triggers, right? But I genuinely don't like this flat plus 1 second to total time, because it doesn't feel anymore like it's a skill that I can really use and like make my primary ability, and then have a supporting cast of skills to kind of elevate the times where I do just want to drop a bunch of comments. It's instead, I am stuck in this animation, and maybe, you know, you're in the middle of doing this animation, you're in the middle of doing the whole comet, you know, you jump up in the air thing, and by the time that you've done the leap, you already have to move out of the way for either a bunch of attacks from mobs, or maybe the boss is doing something, and it causes you to instead get out of the way of that, and then you've done nothing with your ability. And that just, it doesn't feel great to me. I don't like that there are these flat 1 second timers to cast time on these ones, and even more so in maces. And I think it's even, to me, it's even almost even worse for maces because of the fact that so many of them, like, you already have, not only is it more than a second, this is 1.4 second to total attack time for Sunder. Not only do you have that, but also the weapon types. Like if you're doing two-hand maces, maces already actually don't have a great area on the tree, simply because they don't really get attack speed two-hand. Like this one, 5% reduced attack speed for increasing your damage with two-handed weapons, which is wild to me that that's a thing that you can have. Overwhelm here, again, reduced attack speed. It's wild to me that you can have this thing where you already have such a slow weapon type in two-hand maces. Of course, you can get a lot of attack speed to make them faster, but the fact is that you have this overall slow weapon type that you already have to build into a lot to really make comfortable and work, and then you go to the tree and it tells you, oh yeah, you're going to reduce your attack speed more if you take these nodes. It feels ridiculous, and then on top of that, you're also just pairing it with other skills that give you these base plus 1 seconds of total attack time. I don't know who's using these. Like, I genuinely don't know who is just going to stand there and really try to let rip a plus 1.4 second of total attack time to Sunder. I genuinely don't know. And the other thing is, a lot of these skills also have attack speed penalties as well. You know, I mean, that's multiple lasts, so who cares? You know, Armor Breaker even 80% of base, Earthquake 75% of base, 60% of base. Like, these attack speed mods on top of being slow, and then you tag on these like 1.4 second total attack time skills, does not feel good. And I would love to see these changed in some way or another. You know, this one, according to what Sunder here is saying, since it is saying that there is no attack speed penalty here, I would rather this have an attack speed penalty. Give me the like 60% of base that Bone Shatter has instead, so I can work around it and get some skill speed, get some attack speed, to instead make Sunder a bit faster, rather than having to do this whole wind up, jump up in the air in order to actually activate Sunder. Like, that just does not seem fantastic as far as that goes. I'm not a fan of that. And the same with Earthquake too. Earthquake is something, it doesn't have plus seconds to total attack time. There's just two parts to the attack, but it's so incredibly slow that it might as well have a full windup to it as well. Not only does it have a 75% attack speed base, but the fact that the jagged ground, it takes 4 seconds for this to come out. Like, look how slow this comes out. The zombies literally walked the entire way over. He's literally just kiting enemies around where he slammed, and then kiting enemies around the Earthquake to then let it go off and damage enemies. And that to me is just ridiculous. If you look at Path of Exile 1, Path of Exile 1, Earthquake is already barely used in Path 1, but it's viable. And the reason still why it's not really used is there is a 1 second delay between you slamming the ground and the actual explosion. I believe it's like 1 or 1.4, maybe 1.7. Regardless, it's not 4 seconds. It's like quadrupled in this game for like no reason, and it's really, really strange to see. And you know, in Path 1 again, you know, you don't really see it that often, and people really heavily, if you do use it, people really heavily invest into less duration so that both sides of the explosion come off quicker. In this game, it's so much harder to make that happen. It's so much harder to make a 4 second duration get reduced down to a point where it feels okay. And this is kind of where I feel like a lot of the abilities in the game, and this kind of makes me concerned for some other abilities that are going to be coming later in the game. It makes me concerned that these kinds of skills are going to continue to appear, and that they're going to continue to be a thing, because they just ultimately, to me, they don't feel good. And I feel like anybody that I've seen playing the game and using these skills, I feel like anybody I've seen is very much so pivoting or at least trying to use these skills in a way that doesn't involve them, the player, directly using them. Like, I think most people that I know that use Sunder use them with the Ancestral Warrior Totem, because then you're not using it, you don't have this egregious attack time setup, You can just have your warrior totem use it, and you don't have to think about it as much. And I feel like that's just, I don't know. I really don't like it. I don't know what the entire fix would be for this. I think honestly, like I said, I think maybe just like attack speed penalties or something. Some kind of adjustment feels like it would be nice to have. And for the spells over here, if we have attack speed, if they're really saying, look, these are really big spells, they do a ton of damage, we want them to have some kind of negative side effect to them outside of using them. I don't think that having +1 second to total cast time is the way to solve that, in my opinion, is the way to really make that kind of thing happen, because then you do just have people bypassing it in different ways and looking for every way possible to instead break and use it. What they should do, and again, this is just entirely a suggestion. I don't even know how it would work. I don't know how you would build it, all that kind of stuff. But if we have attack speed penalties in the game, if this is at 45% of base, why do these spells not just have a cast time penalty base? You just get increased cast speed, but then, you know, this has like a 80% cast speed on it, a modifier on it instead or something, so that it's always at least a little bit slower, and you have to invest more into cast speed if you want to make the spells come out faster. Of course, people can invest a lot into it and then be churning them, but I think the way it is right now, people are already doing that. People are going to find a way to make that kind of thing happen, whether they want it to happen or not. And the other thing is, like I was saying with the other skills, I think it is flails, and also they have shown us some stuff from Druid, shapeshifting Druid in particular, which looked really cool. I'm still very excited for Druid. But there was one where they, I forgot to pull up the video. I meant to do that, so that's my bad. But there's one where they showed a video where I think they put out a volcano, and then they shapeshifted into like their bear form, and then like stomped the ground around, and did like a whole like stomping the ground and attack and all that kind of stuff, and it set off more volcano projectiles. But I almost am concerned that ability is going to operate the same way that like the mace skills do, in the sense of it's not a channel, but instead is just a flat seconds to total attack time, instead of it being just like a channeling ability. Hopefully it is just a channel ability. It'd be nice if it was just a channel, but I'm concerned that we're going to start seeing more of these seconds to total attack time and seconds to cast time, and they are just not going to feel great. And even like Plasma Blast here, like Plasma Blast, good grief, I can't speak anymore. Again, +2 seconds to total attack time. It's so slow. It's such a cool seeming attack, but it's so slow with +2 seconds. And if you let go at any time because you have to roll or whatever else, sucks to suck. You didn't get the attack off. You don't get to use it, and then you have to try to reposition to be able to use it again. And
Plasma Blast takes a long time to charge, but deals
like, look at that. It's so slow. Don't get me wrong, again, it's such a cool ability, and I really wish that they had something different than just these flat additions to how long a skill has to last before it goes off. Hell, make this something like any of the other channeling skills, like Flame Blast or something, where it's just you deal more damage per stage or something. You can let it off early, like whenever you let go of the button, you let it off, and however long you charged it is how much damage it does, rather than just this whole, okay, you have to sit there and hold it for 2 seconds, and if you have to dodge or anything and you're not in a good enough spot, too bad, you didn't get the attack off. So, I don't know, I don't necessarily have a massive point to everything that I was saying. I really just kind of wanted to talk about this because I feel like I hadn't, you know, a lot of people I think have been saying like, oh yeah, those skills don't feel great, but I haven't necessarily heard a lot of discourse on it. So I really just wanted to make a video talking about and highlighting these skills in particular, the ones that I personally just don't think that they are designed in a good way, just simply in the fact that it almost feels lazy that they just stapled on a flat attack timer and didn't let the players, you know, build around it. Like they always say that they essentially put a problem in front of the players, and the players then need to solve the problem that has been put in front of them, whether it be accuracy, defenses, damage, all that kind of stuff. But if I want to use a skill having just a flat addition on top of that takes away the ability to solve that, and instead just gives me a skill in front of me that I effectively can only get reduced down to a certain point, and once I've hit that point, you've capped it. That's it. And that's just I'm really just not a fan of that design, and I hope that they plan to either change those. I hope that they don't plan to add as many of those into the game, and that maybe those skills end up feeling better. That there's maybe some way that I'm missing. There's something that I'm not thinking of. That would also be, nice. And if anybody out there has used these like mains these skills and it's like, oh, you're not thinking about it right. You do it this way. That'd be awesome. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear what people do with these kinds of skills. I think flails were the same way. I wanted to say there was something I saw with flails somewhere. Where is it? Is it this one? Yeah, flails. So this is something that, and this is also part of why I wanted to make this video, because I hovered flails because I got curious, because I was like, oh, flails are here, like as a tooltip. So seeing that bottom line got me a little bit concerned that we are going to see a lot of these skills with flails, and that flails end up feeling bad, because flails are cool. I like the idea of flails. But rewarding careful placement and long wind-up times with devastating effects, that's concerning to me. That to me just sounds like we're going to have so many of these things where it's like a channel or a flat increase to the amount of time that it takes for one of these flail attacks to go off, and then you can use your actual attack. And that would just be so tragic, honestly, because flails are such a cool thing to me that if that's how flails end up working, then I'm going to be super uninterested in running flails, which would suck because I want to run them. But yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you guys are thinking, or again, like if there's something that I just haven't thought of or haven't tried or anything. But as of right now, outside of literally just attaching these spells to cast on freeze or minion, cast on minion or whatever, or spiral volley actually feeling okay because it's such a low attack additional time. I genuinely just don't know who uses these or what effect they would actually use them for. So again, that's all I really had, is just I am slightly concerned about some of the skills that are coming in the future. I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that they have thought about these things, and maybe this was just a, hey, we're in early access, just throw these out because they're ready, and we'll fix them a bit later. I hope that that's the case. But yeah, otherwise, YouTube, I hope you're still having fun. Hope you're still enjoying Path of Exile 2. Hell, hit me with whatever in the comments. I would be very curious to hear. But until then, I will see you next time.